Hi, everybody. Welcome to another presentation at BigBlueButton World 2024. The presenter today, Guilherme Pereira Leme, is a Brazilian software developer at iMDT and works with a team at Blindside Networks to build the best Big Blue Button. I think we need more Bs. Best Big Blue Button. On a personal note, when I was in Brazil, I worked very closely with Guilherme to work together on the H5P integration, and he did some amazing work. So more has happened since then. It is built on the plugin architecture, and I just think it's super cool. So Guilherme, with that, I turn the microphone over to you.
Hey, Fred. Thanks for the introduction. I am going to put on the slides. Okay, so hey guys, I would like to thank you all for the present here, and I would also like to thank Fred for the opportunity to being talking here about such an important topic, right? The H5P integration. And let's dive in. So first, a brief summary of the presentation, right? We have where we're going to talk the plugin architecture. So the main points of it, just so we have a grasp of what have been done to the H5P structure related to the plugin architecture. Then we're going to say a few more words on the H5P purpose and also in the structure of the H5P itself. Then we're going to have a demo video, and then we're going to see a bit the roadmap of features that we have coming, okay? Okay, so let's dive into the plugin architecture. Our currently architecture has been gathering plenty of features, but essentially for the H5P plugin, we are using these three, okay? So we want to support modifying and interacting with the BigBlueButton's user interface, and that is done by the extensible areas. I'm going to show you two of them that we used in the H5P plugin, okay? So on the left-hand side, we have the presentation toolbar button. And on the right-hand side here, we have the action button drop-down that we can add another menu to that. We have plenty of other extensible areas around the BigBlueButton interface. I would like to welcome you to see if you're interested in the SDK GitHub, okay? As for the data exchange between the server and the plugin, we currently don't have an extension for the backend portion of the BBB. So what we did is to make a way from the client, the HTML5 client, and there it is going to fetch data from the backend, and then it's going to make it available for the plugin, okay? So that is done by the data consumption hooks, okay? So some of them are the use current user and the use current presentation, which are also some of the hooks that we're going to use to develop the H5P, okay? Basically, the use current user fetches data from the user, such as the name of the user ID, and so on. And the use current presentation fetches data about the current presentation that is on, such as this one right here. Okay, so the current text, the current slide that is on, and so on. Okay. Okay, so next, we would like to also send data from one participant to another, right? So exchange data between clients. So basically that's done by the data channels. This is an important feature that we're going to talk a lot in this presentation, all right? So keep that in mind. And there are also plenty of features, as I mentioned previously, but these are the most important ones for this H5P. Again, I encourage you to take a look into the SDK URL, into the SDK GitHub repository. I'm going to pass in the chat later on this meeting, okay? Okay, so as for the plugin purpose, now we already have the ability to doing polls, right? But the polls are just for doing like true or false questions or even multiple choice questions and stuff like that. So we would like to have the ability to increase the diversity of tasks and activities that the teacher can use in class, like crosswords activity, such as we're going to show you in the demonstration video, dictation activities, true or false questions, and pretty much anything H5P related, okay? There are some caveats related to it, but we're talking about it later on this meeting, okay? Okay, so let's dive into the plugin structure itself. Firstly, the plugin is going to fetch data, fetch the current slide text, okay? And it's going to see if there is a content JSON related to inside this slide, okay? If the content JSON is within the slide, it's going to render the presentation toolbar button, okay? So as I mentioned previously, this is the presentation toolbar button, okay? And then if the teacher clicks the button, it's going to trigger the activity rendering flow, okay? That I'm going to talk on the next slide. Okay, so we have now the two perspectives to analyze. So I'm going to start with the student's perspective, since it's a bit easier to understand the workflow as a whole, okay? So the student is going to receive the content JSON that was sent by the teacher when they clicked in the Play H5P button, and the activity will render in the student screen, okay? So the student will start doing the activity normally, and with that, the plugin is going to capture all the current states of the H5P activity that is rendered into the student's client, okay? And with that, the plugin is going to constantly check for the XAPI events. Since when the student finishes, it's going to have a button on the bottom of the activity for the student to check. And when the student checks, it's going to trigger this XAPI event that I just mentioned. And the plugin is going to capture that event and send the data through the data channel, okay? As for the teacher's point of view, the teacher also receives the content JSON, since the use data channel is kind of general for a meeting. So everybody in the meeting, every participant in the meeting are going to receive the data channel data. And it's going to replace the presentation for a blank screen, so that it's going to wait for the content data, the current state of the student, okay? When the teacher receives the current state from the student, it's going to render reactively. So as long as the student keeps pushing data to the data channel, the teacher keeps updating their view of what the student is doing, okay? That is what we call live updates, okay? And by the end of this workflow, the student is going to click check, and it's going to send the data through the data channel. And the teacher is going to receive that data, and it's going to render within the Sidekick area, okay? One thing to mention here is when the student finishes the activity, the teacher is going to remove the live updates from the main area as well. So letting just the Sidekick results of the student, okay? Okay, so as for the last step, the teacher can at any time, but essentially it is going to be only at when all the students finishes. The teacher can click the remove H5P from the presentation area, okay? And when they click that, the presentation area is going to replace the previously H5P activity to the a presentation that were before the H5P activity, okay? So that's it. With the plugin structure, that's what's happening behind the scenes. Okay, so there are some features that I would like to stress here. It is flexible, so we can pretty much use anything H5P related, as I mentioned before, right? So if the library is included in the H5P server that we own, okay? So these are the caveats I'm going to mention in the next slide. And lastly, the content JSON that comes within the slide of the presentation must have an H5P added before the actual JSON. So before the opening curly braces for the JSON, we have to insert an H5P on that, so that the presentation, the plugin can identify that this is an activity, a possible activity rendering JSON, okay? So that it is an activity H5P of H5P. Okay, so here is an example of the H5P content that we can insert into a slide. We have the H5P at the beginning, we have the opening curly braces, the JSON, and the closing curly braces, okay? So talking a little bit about the caveat that I just mentioned, every H5P activity needs to have a library attached to it, so that the H5P knows exactly what to render, you know, and that is JavaScript files, CSS files to render correctly the layout and stuff. And so basically we need to make it available for the plugin to fetch this data, okay? So if the H5P, we're going to make the library server available for the plugin is going to fetch the data, the server is going to return the CSS and JavaScript files related to the activity, and the H5P plugin is going to follow normally with the workflow as it is supposed to, okay? What happens if the CSS or the JavaScript file is not there on the server? Basically, the behavior of the activity is going to not happen normally, or the layout could have could be broken down. Okay, so this is the caveat. But since mostly every activity that we are going to touch in H5P are open source, this is not really a problem, right? We can make sure that all the activities library needed for the plugin is going to be on the server side, so that the plugin can fetch and so on and so forth, okay? So here we have some screenshots of the plugin. We can analyze it statically, and then we're going to see a demo. On the left-hand side, we have the slide with the content JSON. We know that because the plugin is already rendering the Play H5P button on the toolbar of the presentation, okay? I kind of painted the text white, so as the background is also white, the text is invisible, but trust me, the text is right there. And as for the student's perspective, it is not happening anything because, well, the workflow didn't triggered yet, okay? Okay, so as the teacher clicks the Play H5P button, it is going to send out the content JSON through the data channel, and is going to render the H5P in the student's perspective. As for the teacher, it's going to be waiting for the current state from the student to be sent out to the data channel. And when this current state is received by the teacher is simply going to render the H5P activity normally, okay? Okay, so I think this is the last one for the screenshots. When the student clicks the check button, it's going to trigger the XAPI event with the data of the outcome of the student, and the plugin is going to get that data and send back to the data channel, so that the teacher can fetch that data, the data, and put it into the Sidekick panel as it is shown right there. 1 out of 5 was the student outcome in this activity as an instance, as an example. Sorry. Okay, so let's have some demo. Everyone can see it? Is it okay? Okay. So it is happening. The teacher just clicked the H5P play H5P button, and the current state keeps being pushed to the data channel. As the teacher receives it, it is going to render the current state that the student just sent. Okay, so we can see it here that as the student type, the current state is being presented to the teacher as well. Okay. At the end, the student clicks the check button, and it vanishes from the main area from the teacher, okay? And we have here the outcome of the student being presented at the sidekick panel, okay? And also, the teacher can remove at every time, and the activity is being replaced by the previous presentation that was in the presentation area, okay? Okay, so some final considerations and some next steps. We need to enhance the user experience and the user interface. As I just showed you guys, the user interface can be improved here. Okay, so mainly when we have more and more students, what happens now is that the teacher is going to create a grid of every live update that is going to being rendered. Okay, so we talked internally and we discussed that perhaps we could install a slider so that the teacher can see, can slide through all of the live updates from every student in the meeting. Okay, so that's one idea, but we are open, of course, for suggestions. Okay. And also, one thing that we are quite excited to do is to collect data from the student's outcome and make it available, store it somewhere, of course, and make it available for the teacher to later on analyze this data and see if the student has some struggles and difficulties to provide a more suitable feedback for and more individual feedback for the student. Yes, as Fred mentioned here in the chat, a learning analytics dashboard. We're going to make it available there. Okay, so that's it. That's all I got. Do you have some questions, suggestions? You can open your mic and say there or in the chat.
Guilherme, that was awesome. Thank you for both sharing
Thank you,
sort of
Fred.
under the hood, how you did it, and the demo.
Yeah.
If there's anyone has questions about H5P has a very broad adoption around the world, and it plays very well with the vision or the goal of BigBlueButton is to provide more opportunities for active learning and feedback so that every student learns. And the analytics are the way that the feedback can occur. And H5P has a rich set of activities that we explored. Well, Guilherme, you explored and turned out, yeah, we could do it. So I think the key thing here is Guilherme is trying to make it look easy, but there's a lot of stuff under the hood that had to happen for it to work. So, but any questions you have, what you've seen so far? Is anybody involved at a school that uses H5P? It is the #1 plugin for Moodle right now. If you look at the Moodle plugin database, there's about 2,200 plugins. H5P is actually the #1. I think activity plugin. So
Awesome.
there's a lot of use of H5P around the world.
Yeah. Yeah. One good thing of the H5P is that it is basically a place where you can create an activity yourself, right? So if the teacher wants to create, to put their creativity on tests and create another activity, another task for their students, that's the teacher is going to be able to do that, right? And it's just to show the power of the H5P, right? The teacher is going to just upload the libraries in the server, and it is going to render properly. That's amazing.
Yes, and just someone may have a question about like how might you get that configuration into a slide for using with BigBlueButton. That could be done multiple ways. So we are embedded in the core of Moodle. One option is exploring whether we could get Moodle to extend the integration of H5P to allow you to download that configuration directly. The next one would be as well, could you download the configuration already embedded in a PowerPoint slide? There are libraries out to do that. Another option is at h5p.com, kind of gives you a similar way, which like to download the full zip file for the H5P activity, or maybe just a PowerPoint slide. And we're also looking at the BigBlueButton project as well. Like, could we just build some bridge which, hey, you've already got an H5P activity. Take your zip file here and we'll give you back the PowerPoint slide with the configuration embedded inside of it, all ready to go. You could then bring it into your presentation. And then when you get to it in the presentation, BigBlueButton will give you the button to launch it. I'll ask. Oh, I'll take the marinade.
Go ahead.
Marinade. So H5P is open source. H5P.com earns money by providing a rich set of tools to let you create H5P content, serve it up through LTI, and they also have some AI that they've been working on to allow you to like type in some topics, and it will generate H5P content for you. This is really good. Like that means the company behind H5P, like, you know, has a business model and is growing. But H5P itself is open source. So what we did was we wrapped in the open source component into a plugin, and it's through that we are able to do this proof of concept, which has really proven to us that this is all possible. And thanks, Aaron. Yeah, our goal is to get this up at a demo server where anyone in the world could try it out. So you're kind of seeing the work in progress right now, but a lot of it's all the pieces are there now. Like I think what we, I mean, Guilherme, when you started this, were you thinking we could do this in the plugin architecture, or did you kind of think from the beginning, yeah, we could do this?
Well, I think since from the beginning, I thought that we could do this. We would just have to create the way for us to do, right? So, for instance, the data channel is one example. We had to create it not only for this plugin specifically, but it helped a lot. The data consumption hooks, the sidekick panel, and so on. Okay. One thing to mention, a big shout out to the mconf guys that helped us developing the main area content and also the sidekick content that it is available in the SDK. So thanks, guys. Thanks a lot.
All right, that's a good place. Guilherme, thank you for the presentation. This was awesome. Just such a great example of using the plugin architecture in a way that we had hoped it would enable us to do. All of the work that you did has been on top of BigBlueButton. You didn't have to modify the core, as opposed to just some of the things that you did need to have extended. But now that those extensions are in place, this is able to develop in parallel on top of BigBlueButton. And it's really impressive. So nice work.
Thanks, Fred. Thanks, everyone, for being here and supporting and asking questions and stuff. Thanks a lot.